Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back on Boomer 11 after a short break when it comes to the live streams. But we were always posting videos. I hope you did check that out, especially when it comes to football and cricket tactical analysis. But nonetheless, we're back with our live stream. The Boomer Live is back. The Boomer Boys are back once again. Jen will be joining us very shortly. But meanwhile, welcome Sandeepani after a short break. I hope you're doing absolutely fine. Just before we talk about cricket, how are you doing personally?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I think it's a much needed break after the IPL season. And then we had to sort of get into a break after the performance that India put in the World Test Championship finals.
Yeah,
So after a week long, 2 weeks or 3 weeks long hiatus, we are finally back. And I think we are
yeah,
going to be more regular because the Ashes action is going to heat up. And it's
yeah,
good. From a professional standpoint, I think it is always good to take breaks. For
yeah.
example, Virat Kohli scored those centuries after getting that break.
Preach. That's a team leader
Yeah,
talking, guys. That's a team leader talking. How you should grant breaks to your fellow employees and
I have to
everybody
say
else.
though. I have to say though, this team leader allows his members to take breaks, unlike some of our management when it comes to our team, our favorite team.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was pretty confused where you were heading to, so
No, I wasn't talking about
I
Boomer
was
at
pretty
all.
confused with that. So I was like, where is this guy going? Either we are all gonna get fired tonight, or
Boomer's all good. Boomer's all good.
Boomer's all good. Boomer gives you the
Yeah.
break. We all are
Yes.
boomers because of that as well. We love playing fantasy. So meanwhile, I was actually checking out the fantasy leagues which are happening, World Cup qualifiers and everything else. So yeah, I mean, how did your break go, Jaren? Because I want to start off on a very chill note. I don't want to like
Yeah.
talk about cricket straight up because we're just easing into it. As you said, it's a first net session. Then we slowly get into the groove before we get into the match.
This is just a
So how
warm
was your
up,
break?
right? Just a
Yeah,
warm up.
throwdowns.
Yeah, Abel, great week, I would say. I have started a new team when you are part of it as well. We're hoping things go well on that front.
Yeah.
And yeah, what else? Yeah, I've been pretty much just playing cricket, not thinking about it. But I did watch the test match
Phenomenal.
though, the first one, and it was a banger of a test match. So not a
Yeah.
complete break, but a break.
Yeah, I mean that's what you need at the end of the day. It's a break. It helps you
Yeah.
to chill down a little bit. But yeah, on that note, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about Ashes. And great test match, as Jen rightly mentioned, a phenomenal one. Went down the wire. Did not expect who was going to win until the last over, the last one. So it's good because I still thought England could have maybe won that game if that four would not have gone. Maybe a wicket there. Anything could have possibly happened. That was the kind of test match we had on the offing. But you have to admit now, Lord's Test match, the setting is absolutely set out. The war of words happening all across. It's more off the field than on the field at this point of stage. And with the pitch which has been set out as well, it looks like a Wimbledon lush green outfield there. And on top of that, Australia 1-0 up in the series, which Englishmen do not really take it well because the first time in baseball, they're seriously under some sort of pressure. Sandeep, what do you reckon about that?
Yeah, and I think England had the game. I think the game at Edgbaston, well, 282 is always a daunting task, no matter where you're playing, how easy the circumstances are. Having said that, I think also the first innings declaration, the baseball approach, where they wanted to put pressure on the Aussies on the first day evening, really backfired for them because I think if they would have batted another 2 wickets, another 10-15 runs here and there, and probably with the rain coming in, we could have also seen a draw. So I think it was England's tactics that made them lose the first game. But that is how baseball is. You play that brand of cricket. You expect this kind of excitement, and I think it was a great advertisement for Test cricket. The right way to start off the Ashes, and I think the Australians were the better team. Pat Cummins, surprisingly, I was very sort of happy with how Pat Cummins led that side because prior to that series, the Border Gavaskar Trophy, and also the two games that Pat Cummins captained in the Border Gavaskar Trophy, and also the World Test Championship Finals, I felt Pat Cummins as a captain had some shortcomings, but I think he was way better in the game against England.
I
Yeah,
like
I
that.
mean,
Pat
I also
Cummins
think
had
it has
some
to do a lot with that
shortcomings.
WTC win, isn't it? Because once you get one trophy under your belt, you seem to be a different captain. You seem to have that aura about you. You're a World Test champion. You're a World Cup winning captain, for that matter. You're one of the many in Australian history. But nonetheless, You have got the body language or swagger to walk in as a captain, and that also means you are ready to take up responsibility, which he did beautifully in the first Test match. But Jaren, let's talk about this Test match. The first Test match is done and dusted. I mean, you have to say this is one of the best setting to go into a second Test match in Lords, considering everything that's happening around. Ollie Robinson being shunned out by all the Aussie legends, saying that he's just a 125 km per hour bully, and then talking about which he should keep his mouth shut is what Michael Clark says, because he doesn't even find a place in the playing 11. And Ricky
Yeah.
Ponting, he has gone against him. And the Australian team is very clear that we're
You
not there to
don't.
have lunch and we are there to play
Yeah.
cricket. So it looks like a game which is set out like 2005 vibe. Everything is high in octane over there. Both the camps really are fired up to go out there and get a result.
I mean, you would have to say that, you don't go against the Australian old guard. I think Ollie Robinson should have spoken with his opposition. I mean, his opposition's captain Pat Cummins, and when he had a tussle with, one of the old guard, Australian old guard, Justin Langer, how the whole Australian Golden team just pounced on him, and from Mitchell Johnson to Michael Clark to Ponting, everyone was up in arms. And Ollie Robinson is a bomb. You are not going to get spared at all. I mean, look at the comments. Matthew Hayden called him. I think Matthew Hayden was the worst, probably. I
Yeah.
mean, but you don't go against Ponting. I understand where he's coming from. He isn't wrong. Ponting was one of the best captains when it came to celebrating. But I mean, yeah, I think Mike Clark is right. He's just here for 5 minutes. I mean, you're not seeing Stuart Broad, you're not seeing James Anderson say anything. It's Ollie Robinson and his big mouth. Virat tried to shut it up, but that's how Ollie Robinson plays. I
Hmm.
feel, when you put that pressure on him, when you talk it up, when you try and bring up banter, that's when Ollie Robinson will come back. And I think he is someone who is not. I won't say he's not someone who's as talented as Stuart Broad or James Anderson. But one thing that I love about this lad is he's tenacious. He's gonna keep coming at you. He's gonna keep, and he was instrumental. He did pick up wickets. It's not like he did not do a good enough job. He did a good enough job for the kind of role that he was given, and he did turn the game around in a session or so. So I won't say that he's not speaking out of no cred whatsoever. He's doing the job for England, but then maybe he's overstating his importance as well, because
Yeah,
Michael
makes
Clark is
sense.
right. If there was a job for Archer, you wouldn't see him in the team.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah. So this is England. I don't know what happens in cricket, but England till we die. Yeah, yeah. John is from Liverpool, and I kind of sense why he's supporting England there. So that's the fan reactions as well. But now going to Lords, let's talk about the playing 11, because England has already disclosed the playing 11 prior to the Test match. Very interesting choice. Moeen Ali has been left out of the team because of obvious reasons. Number one, he did go for a lot of runs in the second innings as well. One area England really thought he could be coming effective was the second innings in that Test match, where he could run through the Australian batting attack, which he did not really do. He did ball well. You have to say that he really did ball well, but it just looked like he was a little bit rusty into Test cricket. He had never bowled so many overs. He had his fingers scraped out. He was really struggling at one point, to say which Khwaja was really on top of him. And after that is really you felt like maybe England lacked that cutting edge with an extra pacer they could have gone with. Josh Tongue, who plays for Worcestershire, who's also going to be playing in this match, making his debut rather. Very interesting call. He's had a very good county season, balls good rapid pace, can be used
Yeah.
against the tailenders of Australia, which they lacked in the last match. One of the primary reasons with Mark Wood not being 100% fit and no Archer being there, they had to look for that extra pace. Yeah, Matt Potts is another option they had, but definitely they had to check for someone better than that. That's one of the reasons why they went for Josh Tongue. Yeah, Josh Tongue. What do you guys reckon about this England squad? They've not made a lot of changes, just one change, which is Moinley out, which means four seamers and a spinner and Joe Root.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I mean, I think for
all
me,
in all, okay,
go
yeah,
ahead, go ahead.
go ahead.
All right. Then for me, I think Joe Root is definitely not a spinner who should be leading your spin attack. Absolutely not. The guy, I think his greatest strength is when the ball turns, because then he doesn't turn the ball and the batters play for turn and are dismissed bowled or LBW. But in England, where the ball isn't going to turn, Joe Root is not your spinner at all. And I swear, I think the only reason why they're doing this is because they believe that they don't have a better spinner than Jack Leach and Moeen Ali in their county side, which would make sense as well, because I think in many ways, English spinners have now transformed themselves into more white ball format. They are doing a lot better when it comes to their the vitality bash or the 100. But when it comes to Test cricket, I think they've not really had that kind of spin bowling. I really expected Renan Ahmed to maybe get a spot, but then I think the
Yeah,
reason why he did not get one is because he doesn't bat. And then you're not expecting a lot of turn in England at Lords. So
yeah.
someone like Josh Tongue can get the ball to seam into the batter a lot. So that
Hmm.
slope will help him as well with that extreme amount
Yeah,
of pace. If he can get the ball to nip in, it can be a tough one to face because we saw that in the Irish Test series as well. I think it was the Irish one.
yeah. The Irish one. Yeah.
Yeah, the Irish one where he did cause some problems, but then he's still very raw, and he
Did
does
he play
tend
the
to
Irish
drift
Test
to the
match
leg
though? Did
side.
he play
He
though? I
did,
don't
he
think he
did,
had
he
made his
did, he
debut.
did. Yeah, he did. He's
He
played.
did play.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure of that. I thought he was making his debut tomorrow.
No. He's played. I'll
Okay.
just get back to you, but as far as I'm aware, he's played because I do remember watching him, and I haven't watched a county game since 2007. So I'm sure I've seen him in that Irish
He has
Test
played
match.
one Test match. Yes, correct.
There we go.
Took him a
There we
five
go.
wicket count. Yeah, correct. Makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. I stand corrected there. So yeah, he did play the Irish Test match where he picked up 5 wicket haul in the second innings and he was bowling pretty fast there. I remember it was
Yeah.
him. I got pretty confused with I got confused with
I
Potts
think
and Tom.
Matt Potts has not played for quite some time.
Yeah,
Surprising,
that
really.
also because his pace has gone down slightly. He came with a reputation of
Hmm.
bowling 140. It came down to 130, 120, which makes him a very one-dimensional bowler. But Sandeep, let's look at this pitch over here, right? What do you make of the surface? Looks like a lush green pitch. We can't differentiate the outfield and the pitch. And considering what they've done in basketball in the recent past, this is quite a differentiator, which looks like they want to back their bowling once again and see how their batters can play in an aggressive manner in a pitch which does a lot for the bowlers, which means Anderson and Broad will certainly be on the game. And with lots, with that slope in play, with overcast conditions, which means it's not going to be easy to score runs. One of the primary reasons why there's only one spinner in the attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a smart call for them to actually strengthen their bowling and look to go ahead with four pacers with Ben Stokes. I mean 5 pacers, because if you talk about compare the batting lineup, I think England have been given a lot of credit over the past 2-3 years because of the way that they play. But if you talk about the class of the batters, I think the Australian batters are way superior to England right now. Apart from a Joe Root and probably a Oli Pope, Zach Crawley here and there, Harry Brooks is yet to find his actual mojo against the world class teams. He has gone on to score runs against he has gone on to score runs against New Zealand, but we saw how he suffered in the IPL in completely different tracks though. But having said that, I think he's yet to be tested against world class bowlers. So if you compare the two batting lineups with Travis Head, Usman Khawaja, Steven Smith, Marnus Labuschagne, I think this Australian side is one of the best batting lineups in the world, probably the best batting lineup right now in the world, and the form goes on to show that. So I think it is smart enough for them to strengthen their bowling and look to exploit the conditions and pick up as many wickets as they can in the first session or the first hour of the game itself. And then I think that is the smart strategy that England have gone by, because if you create another flat track where you can get baseball sort of a game, Australia will definitely outplay you. They will not score 393 runs of 70 odd overs, but they will score 393 runs of 100 odd overs, and that is good
Yeah.
enough, because you are not. If you have flat pitches, you are not able to get the likes of Usman Khawaja, Steven Smith, Marnus Labuschagne out easily, and Travis Head for that matter as well. So I think with the current form and lineup, I think it's a smart call. But still, I would still I still felt that getting Moeen Ali out was not probably the wisest of choices, because you brought him out of the retirement, and then not to just one game and then out of the side does not really justify his talent. So, but I think there was no room as well. But Josh Tongue, I'm really excited to see how he goes about it. But I agree with Jerin. Joe Root, not your number one spinner, and especially because we saw how Nathan Lyon exploited the conditions, picked up 8 wickets, was the highest wicket taker in the last game. So it's a weird strategy for England, if you ask me.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that's one thing which I also personally felt was very, very absurd from their perspective. To just take on Moeen after one test match. Okay, I understand it's in lots and could be a strategic call as well, and maybe we will allow them at the end of the test match where we're going to be like, oh yeah, Ben Stokes made the right call. But considering what has happened over the last couple of weeks, I just feel they were under pressure to make this call. And also, Josh Tongue did pick up a 5-wicket haul in Lords. So that is one major factor going into this test match. Jared, let's talk about Australian team here, right? 1-0 up in
Yeah.
the series. If they can really stamp an authority, it is this test match. If they get anything out of this test match, let it be a draw or a win, then England are under tremendous pressure to come back into the series. And at the same time, they will be left wanting for then. It's going to be up to England to really make a statement. Being 2-0 down or even 1-0 down, I think there's going to be a result in this test match for sure. So even if you're going to
Of
be 2-0
course.
down in the series, going into the next test match, it's going to be hard task for them. You've almost retained the Ashes by then.
I think I'll tell you what, Emil, one of the biggest tests for England is not just going to be to win the Ashes. Obviously, that's a huge thing. But it's also the kind of question marks now that have come up against baseball. The English fans, the English press were all happy, all great. They're very happy with Baz McCullum's employ of baseball. Everyone was excited. But the first biggest jerk that they got and the first biggest obstacle they got was Australia. And we all knew that Australia is going to be a tough team because they've got the four best, probably the best bowling attack at this point in time. I know India's done that, but now India's really not is an injured bunch. You would have to say it. So I think at that stage, at least this WTC cycle, the past one, Australia's top four had been the best by far.
Yeah.
And to come up against England, you knew it's not going to be easy. And the first thing that happens, the first match that happens, they've lost questions on the the early declaration as well. So this is not
Yeah.
just going to be a test of England's mettle; it's also going to be a test of baseball. How far is Brendan McCullum going to continue with it, and how far is the English public going to be sympathetic or going to be patient with the amount of losses they're going to get? Because this is a high risk, high reward system that they employ, right? On days that it
Yeah.
comes off, it looks beautiful, but on days it doesn't, it looks horrible. And you would have to say England still fought hard. I still think
Yeah.
it is very unnecessary, the kind of criticism that they're getting. I know that early declaration wasn't that great, and probably in the second innings they shouldn't have gone as hard as they did. They should have probably held back a little bit more and not given Australia that amount of time to chase it down. But
Yeah.
having said that, I think there's nothing wrong with the strategy. It's just making Test cricket more exciting.
Interesting. Michael says England might come really hard. And I'm
They
also
are going to.
anticipating that England might come very hard. Maybe that could also backfire. At this point of stage, if there's a doubt which creeps into basketball system, it could possibly crumble very badly. So basketball system is about keeping a clear head, backing your instincts, and going ahead. If they're going to be
But even with a
conservative,
clear head, I think the main problem with baseball system is that you can't expect England to make it to the World Test Championship finals playing baseball, because with
well, I don't
as you
know
said,
about that.
high risk, high
Well,
reward.
I still think they can do it.
No, I think it's a very
I think Sandipani on these kind of pitches that we saw in the first match in Edgbaston, they can. But
yeah. But at
tomorrow
Lords, I
is
don't
the
think they can.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
tomorrow, how do they go about it? I'm a bit worried that England kind of, completely backtrack into what they are used to just try and negate the Australian batting
Yeah,
lineup.
this
I
is
think that's
where
going to
I
backfire.
think what they're trying to do is possibly over confuse them. See, preparing a
Hmm.
green track in itself is against the whole system of baseball. I don't know how is the track
Yeah.
going to play out. Only we can see after the first ball is ball tomorrow. If the track is going to play out anything like the previous English tracks of 2021, 2019, or of that sorts, then it's going all of a sudden against the system of basketball where they were backing themselves to play on flatter surfaces. Because remember, before the start of the series, they did come out openly saying that we want to play on flatter surfaces where the ball comes onto the bat very quickly, and they back themselves to do it. So the moment if they're going to prepare something against that whole theory, then they are questioning the basketball system, which also means they want to get their prime ballers into play of James Anderson and Stuart Broad and also Ollie Robinson into play there. Because last match you saw when the surface was flat, all three of them were shut out for a long period of time. Especially Stuart Broad was only a standout over there, but if you have to talk about someone like Ollie Robertson, Ben Stokes towards the latter end in the second innings, they tried their best, but they were just balling cookies at them, which Pat Cummins and even Nathan Lyon could adjust pretty well. If you need to have something in the pitch in English conditions at least for these bowlers to exploit, or else they become absolutely nullified. What do you reckon about that, Jalen?
Yeah, I think it's plain and simple, right? If you look at most of England's test batters, they're all white ball players who have sort of adopted their game, or at least I think Oli Pope is one of those players who hasn't, who's been out and out test player, who was brought in as a test player. But he also changed his technique around to try and adjust, because initially when he was playing the traditional form of test cricket, he was getting beaten. He was not really looking like the kind of player you would call the successor of an Ian Bell. But now that this baseball has come around, that's one thing that has changed. But you look at where the success for baseball has come, right? It's come in pitches in Pakistan, it's come in pitches in England, it has come
New
on
Zealand.
it's come on pitches in New Zealand, where even New Zealand batters haven't been that, they haven't been that confident, where they've gone ahead with those green top wickets. So now, interestingly, where I think the two places where it's going to be challenged the most is, one is Australia, when they go and play in Australia. I still think if tomorrow's pitch, I would still want to see a report on it. I'll be frank. Just
Yeah.
like how you mentioned, Abel. Remember the WTC Test match
Yeah.
that happened, right? We saw the pitch, and when we saw the photos, we were like, it's going to be a seaming track, and that's what India thought as well. But
Yeah.
when Dinesh Karthik went ahead, or when Sangakkara went ahead, when they did the pitch report, they saw dry grass underneath, and they straight away said that it's going to be a batter's pitch since at least after the first 3 hours, and that's what happened. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to be, whether this is a ploy to hold the pitch together.
Mhm.
Because remember, lads, this is the early part of that county season. So these pitches are going to be used for a long season. And that's the reason why they sometimes leave those fresh grass early on, so it doesn't crumble that easily.
Mhm.
That's what happens in WTC matches as well. So that's what's going to be interesting. But otherwise, it's going to be a test for sure if the ball is going to nip around, especially seeing that someone like a Scott Boland can be very difficult to face on this pitch.
And exactly
Absolutely.
why I'm not a huge fan of, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Dan Lawrence as England's opener. I think England could have, if they really wanted to play a Moeen Ali, they would have probably dropped Dan Lawrence, and if they wanted to get in another pacer, they would have tried that. They could have tried that. I think Dan Lawrence as an opener on, I mean,
But I
sorry,
don't think
Ben
Dan
Duckett.
Lawrence is playing tomorrow.
Ben Duckett. I meant Ben
Ben
Duckett.
Duckett.
Yeah. So Zach Trolley has established himself as one of the more regular players, openers that is going to play for the England team for the next 3-4 years at least. But when you have the other opening slot, there is a musical chair still going on between Dan Lawrence, Ben Duckett, and I felt if you really wanted to play a Moeen Ali, you could have probably asked Moeen Ali to
I
come in.
don't see him open anymore in Test cricket, at least, because
But
No,
I
I don't
still
think he's
I
feel
agree.
no, not because of his opening abilities, but I think that in England would need a spinner somewhere down the line in the second innings or
No,
towards the later
I
I
part.
see
still
them go
believe,
back to
guys,
someone like a
that
Dom Sibley at some stage because of what he's done in counties this season. He's been batting pretty aggressively and he's been scoring runs at a very quick rate. So maybe Dom Sibley is possibly their answer for the long run.
But then again, Dom Sibley has looked very iffy in conditions where there is spin. When there is
I mean,
yeah, but I think
I
in these conditions he can. He is a
he
player
can,
for
yeah.
me.
yeah.
I think
I
every
think a
England
lot of
player
these
will
batters will
struggle
look
in
iffy
terms of spin.
once the ball starts to turn. They've all played good on flatter surfaces, but can they do it on a
I
ranked turner?
mean,
Even in Pakistan, for that
that's
matter, they're not
what.
playing a ranked
Yeah,
turner.
exactly. And I mean, just look at what Nathan Lyon did to them in the second innings, right? That's where they really lost that test match. That third innings, where England were supposed to consolidate, they got a slim lead and they were supposed to consolidate on it, pile on the pressure on Australia. But the ball started spinning because of
Yeah.
how flat the pitch was on the first day and how much
Mhm.
sunshine the pitch received throughout those 5
Yeah.
days.
But you
So
wouldn't
that
want a
is
Joe
where,
Root coming in and playing reverse scoops from the get go, right? Because I was very disappointed to see the way Joe Root approached that second
yeah,
innings, because I felt that he was just not there to bat. He just wanted to go out there and play a different sort of a game. I mean, just to
yeah.
catch the bowler off guard, you try it once, you get it done. Twice for the surprise element, it's fine. But to try
Yeah.
it every time after every over, I think it's a bit too
Yeah, I
predictable.
think that's where they're being a little reckless with this baseball system. There's a fine margin between being aggressive and reckless, and that's what should be maintained. And if they go and lose this test match, then I think the questions are going to be pointed out towards baseball. Then all of a sudden, I want to see how they come out in the third test match. Do they still back the
Yeah.
baseball to go out there and do a job? Or do they be like,
Honestly,
let's
I
just
think
be a
Abel, no matter
conservative?
England wins or loses, I think the baseball will not fire in tomorrow's game. I think if England are to win, I think it is going to be because of their bowlers. They'll have to bundle Australia out really cheaply
Yeah,
because
and I also
only
think,
if yeah,
yeah,
only
I
then
also
they
think
can
this
employ
team
the
is.
best ball. Yeah.
I genuinely think this team cannot play any other style.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
one
expect this
factor
team
as
to
well.
be able to play an
And
Indian
that's what
version of
worries
it.
me with that
Yeah,
pitch. If it is anything like the previous Lord's pitches with a green tinge, I think this team will struggle because I don't see anybody having the technique except the Joe Root. Everybody will struggle in
yeah,
that pitch because I'm just seeing them playing
exactly.
county as well. County surfaces have been remodeled so that they can score
Yeah,
runs. And that was one of the, Rob Key was one of the
I
biggest
mean,
propagators of that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
missing Rob Key on
I
our
was just
show as
looking at
well.
that match. I think I don't know which team does Arshdeep play for. I was just looking at few of his few of his
Sorry, he plays with
wickets.
Surrey.
Sorry, yeah, correct. And I was looking at those wickets that he took. It is a beach. It's a literal beach, lads. It's like the whole ground and then a patch of beach laid out for the batters.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way he's getting those wickets is by making those mistakes or making those.
It's
Missing the
unlike
length.
those previous
Yeah.
years. You know what, Steve, what's his name? The 45-year-old county baller who was bowling a couple of seasons ago. I forgot his
Oh,
name. I
I don't
forgot his
remember,
name.
but yeah, I know you
Yeah.
remember. Let me.
So it is not him anymore. You can't go out there and bowl 110 and pick up wickets anymore because the county system is totally different.
He played
You
for
have to bowl
Somerset,
Darren
right?
wickets.
Stevens. His name was
Darren
Darren
Stevens.
Stevens. He played for
Darren
Glenmore.
Somerset.
Stevens,
No, he played for
exactly.
Somerset, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he could bowl at 47 years of age. You could run in a ball 110 and pick up wickets previously, but there's no more there.
He was England's Rajat Bhatia.
Exactly. You
Yes.
can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You can't do
Correct.
that anymore. So that's all. Finally, we'll take some questions before we end the live. So Priyanka says she missed us. Saloni says someone got a new hairdo. I think
That's
she's
Abel
talking about
every week.
Sandibani because Sandibani's got a new hairdo. Yes, Sandibani.
I absolutely
Sandibani got
did
a new
not.
cut.
both me, Jaren, both of us know that she's talking about Abel. But okay, if you want to point the gun at me, then it's fine. I definitely got a new
I'm
hair
not
too.
pointing the gun at anyone. So Nabil says who
He
misses
pointed
Abel
away from
adjusting his hair?
himself. That's all.
Yeah.
Who misses Abel adjusting his hair? Nobody. That's all. So that's it. And Azul says, I love Lauren Bell. Okay, Lauren Bell is a cricketer from women's English team. The Ashes is
Yeah.
going on there. She's an amazing
Oh, that
bowler.
was a brilliant Ashes as well. I mean, I think we
Yeah,
should spare at least a minute to talk about it.
yeah, we can talk about that.
Absolutely.
Australia once again coming to England, the women's team. I mean, I think at this point in time, if the last generation was Australia's golden generation in men's cricket, this is Australia's golden generation in women's
I mean,
cricket.
there's no
I was just
golden
looking at
generation.
the
There's only been
team.
Australian generation. There's nothing else. Just
I
one
mean, look at
generation.
the
Platinum, bro.
team
It's
though.
platinum. I mean, they hardly lose a game. If you talk
But
about
They
you've
don't lose
women's
a
always
cricket,
had
game.
an England
It's
team.
the
You've always had
greatest
an English
sporting
team
team
at
in
least
history.
challenge.
It's
exactly.
the
I think it
greatest
is.
sporting team in history, guys. That's
Agree
what I'm
with
talking
Abel over
about.
there. It is the
Yeah,
greatest
yeah,
sporting
yeah.
team in history because the way they pull themselves out of pressure, the way at one point Nat Siver and Tammy Beaumont were building up a strong partnership, and England
Yeah.
looked to be going on to take a first innings lead. But from that to recover and then post a target of 280 odd runs for England to chase down in the fourth innings. And first of all, kudos to finally the ICC for implementing the fifth day in women's Test cricket, because I
Yeah.
think with 4 day
Yeah.
matches, it's hardly you don't you cannot differentiate between a county game and the international game if you are playing 4 days. So
Yeah.
thanks to the ICC for finally getting in that fifth day, and finally we got a result in a test game, in a test match, and it was great to see because for Australia, I think Ellis Petty with her class has always shown,
I
and
mean,
also yeah,
Sandhimani, what do you do when a number 8 batter in Sutherland goes on to score 137?
and then
You
comes
can't
back
beat
to
a
pick
team
up
like
a
that.
wicket.
Yeah.
I mean, even while they were chasing 230 odd, who expected Ash Gardner to pick up 8 wickets there? Now that's what we're
Correct.
talking about.
Yeah. I mean, she picked up 12 in that whole
12 in the
match.
Yeah.
game and 8
I
in
think
the
it
in
was
the
Yeah.
one
it
innings.
was
That
the
was
spinners. I
crazy.
think both Sophie Eccleston and Ash
Sophie
Gardner are
Eccleston
two
as
of the
well. Yeah.
best spinners in the world right now, and they
Yeah.
showed why they are the
Yeah.
best spinners in the world. The lines
Yeah.
that they bowled, the consistency. Because when you have teams scoring 480s and 470s for fun, it sometimes becomes really hard for the bowlers. We saw how Moeen Ali
Yeah.
struggled in a game where Australia went on to score 390, 380.
Yeah.
They just took about Moeen Ali. So
Yeah.
it takes a lot of courage to just stay about it and stay and maintain the same line and length. And I think both Ash Gardner and Sophie Eccleston did a terrific job. And Ash Gardner in
Absolutely.
particular, because now she has got a promotion with the bat as well. She's
Mhm.
coming on to bat at
You
number
know,
6, number
and
7.
to add to that, usually you don't see results in a game where two teams score in excess of 400 plus, 450
Yeah.
plus, and then to force a result on the final day, that's some real good character from Australia, and that's why they're the best team in cricketing history. I would say that. I
Absolutely.
don't mind saying that,
And
and in
I really
sporting
thought
history as
that
Absolutely.
well.
I think
Australia are going to suffer under Alisa Hilly, because with Meg Lanning you have that established base. But I think with Alisa Hilly as well, she has gone with the same
I
pace that
think
Meg
anybody
Lanning did.
can captain this team and they'll do a good job because this
Exactly,
team is
exactly. I
already
think
there.
it's
Absolutely.
just the
I
quality of
think
the
this team
players.
captains itself. It's one of
Yeah,
those teams.
absolutely. They don't have to do anything
Look
more.
at the team, right? I think you can pick 11 captains out of it. Probably only one is Alice. I think Ali. I forgot her first name, but I think her last name is King. She's a leg
Yeah, yeah,
spinner.
yeah.
She's very young.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
except for her, everyone is well seasoned, and
No,
think you
I
can
think
make
they
11
have also
captains out of
got in a
11
new
players.
opener.
Alana King.
They
It's
also got in
Alana
a
King.
new
Alana
opener.
King. Yeah. Yeah, they
And
got new
also I think they
opener,
got in a
but
new opener.
you know,
Yeah.
even with Phoebe Litchfield, she did a very good job in the
Literally.
first innings as well to get that 46 odd runs. Elise Perry
Yeah.
showing her class. Beth Mooney, we all know. Talia Megra, those should not come in a big job here, but that's what we're talking about. They don't need everybody to step up because this team has got individual match winners, and everybody in the top eight is a match winner. You're talking about Alisa Healy coming at number 8 for this team. Now, number 9 at times. She came at number 9 in the last 8 actually. So that's what you're talking about. Elisa Healy, who's an opener, comes at number 8 for this team. Now, what more do you want?
Yeah.
That's why this team is
Exactly.
the
And with
best
Meg
team
Lanning
in
back
this
in the side,
generation.
I think Litchfield will give way for Meg Lanning once she plays after the Ashes. I think she's taking a
Yeah,
break right now.
absolutely. Ashes is
So
done
with
now.
her
I
coming
think
in,
the
yeah.
test match is done. I wish there was more test matches. I think women's test
Yeah, I
cricket
think
should
we
be
should have had
promoted. I
at least
think
three. At least three for the
two
women's
should have been the way
Ashes
to
side.
go. I think women's test match should be promoted more. It looks fun. It looks like there is some bit of grit in it, where both the teams are in a contest a lot more. With limited overs, I think sometimes it's very much one sided. Though we have some good games, but it turns to be one sided. And I hope
But
India
I
gets
mean,
to
that's
turn
the
the
thing,
tables
right?
at least with
Even
2 innings
when
against
it comes
Australia
to Test
rather than
cricket,
one.
I think Test cricket is that one sport where your skills, with the differences in your skills, are exaggerated so much. That's the reason why I think England did a very good job fighting against Australia. But I think if you look at maybe a West Indies versus maybe or Australia, I think West Indies will be swept away if there's a Test
I think
match.
any team
I
apart
mean,
from
the
England,
fact
India,
of the
I
matter
think
is there's
Australia are
not a
going
lot
to
of teams
sweep
who play
I
Test
think not
Australia.
cricket.
even India,
Get
Sandipani.
them
I
used
don't
to
think
playing
India.
Test cricket first, then we'll talk about it. At this
Yeah,
point, Australia plays Test cricket, England plays Test cricket, India started playing Test cricket. So India just played one game after so many years. So that's what we're talking about. Nobody plays Test cricket in women's game. That's a very
yeah,
bad place to be talking about. I hope that changes in future. We will talk about. We'll profess and propagate Test cricket as much as possible for both the genders, for cricket in general.
And we'll
That's
also
why
be
we are
coming back
here.
for the World Cup qualifiers. That is also going
Yeah,
on.
World Cup qualifiers. We'll be back. We'll have a separate episode. We're not going to talk about anything
we're
about
back,
it right now.
guys.
So we'll be back very soon. Thank you guys for joining. I know it's been a while since we got back, and it was great to have you all back on the stream once again. Do check out our other videos as well, which we keep posting the 10-minute videos on tactical profile analysis on Ashwin.
Yeah.
If you're a cricket fan, just check it out. If you're a football fan, check it out as well. Some interesting videos on football is coming up. Check out our shorts as well. And do engage on our Instagram page. We'll be doing some Instagram lives to start out with from tomorrow, hopefully on Ashes and much more. Remember, this season has just begun, and of course, the Indian cricket team will be back in action very soon. So we'll be talking about that
Basically,
as
we are
well. Have a
coming
good
in with heaps of content with shorts as well stepping in.
yes, yes, a lot of content because Indian team is back in action once again. Selection dilemmas. I'm not going to talk about it, guys. Just let me go asleep in peace. Have a good night, all of you. Bye bye.
Good idea, guys.
Bye bye, guys.